everything has a price, including mine. If someone had told me that one day I would sell my body to save my father's life, I would have laughed. I was the good girl, with a busy schedule and solid principles. But the truth is that when the pain gets bad enough, even the soul is up for auction. My name is Ashley Carter. I'm 23 years old. I'm studying nursing, and until 2 weeks ago, my biggest concern was finishing my dissertation on time, until the phone rang. On the other end of the line, news that shattered my world. My father had a rare and aggressive disease. The treatment was expensive, very expensive, more than a girl without resources could dream of getting. I ran after everything: donations, loans, raffles, college aid, but nothing was enough. There was a lot missing, and each day without treatment was another sentence. That's when I committed my greatest sin. I contacted the only man capable of changing the game, Jake Moretti, a name whispered in alleys, feared by businessmen, desired by women, leader of the local mafia, as lethal as he was seductive. I knew who he was, and yet I went to him. He greeted me with that look that seemed to pierce flesh, skin, and soul. Elegant, cold, and too beautiful for someone with so much blood on his hands. When I told him my reason, he listened in silence, his fingers playing with a glass of whiskey. "Are you asking for a favor, Ashley?" he asked, without changing his tone. "Or are you willing to make a deal?" "What kind of deal?" He leaned in, and the world seemed to shrink until it fit only in the space between our eyes. "Be my lover, by contract. 3 months. In exchange, your father will have the best treatment available. No debts, no pending issues, just me and you." My heart sank. Being Jake Moretti's lover meant diving into a dark, dangerous world. But my father, he was all I had. "What if I say no?" I murmured. "You can always keep trying to raffle off your belongings." "But time, Ashley, can't be bought with promises." I signed the contract that night. I didn't cry. Not yet. The next morning, I went to the apartment he had prepared. Luxurious, impeccable, just like him. I was entitled to a new closet, designer clothes, perfumes that cost more than my semester in college. But it wasn't the luxury that scared me. It was him. Jake was intense. He didn't touch me in a hurry. His eyes spoke before his hands. He studied me as if he knew there was something behind my angry expression. And there was. A secret I'd never revealed to anyone. I'd never been with a man. I'd never wanted. I'd never trusted. I'd never allowed myself. And now, this man, who bought my presence with a contract, was about to take what I myself didn't know how to give. But he didn't know. Not yet. The first night together, my body was shaking so much that I could barely hide it. Jake kissed me as if he had been waiting for it for an eternity. His lips were warm, slow, dangerously soft. There was no violence in his touch. There was desire, hunger, contained passion. When he undressed me, I noticed something strange in his gaze. It wasn't just desire, it was pain, as if he was carrying a past with him, as if he knew me from before. And only later, in the silence after the act, when my body was still burning and my soul was trying to understand everything, he looked at me in surprise, his eyes fixed on the stained sheets and my trembling body. "Were you a virgin?" My throat went dry. I just nodded. I couldn't lie or pretend. What I saw then in Jake's gaze wasn't pride or anger. It was something I never imagined coming from him. Guilt. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice was low, hoarse, almost a whisper. "Because I didn't want that to be part of the deal," I said. The silence between us was more intense than any touch, and I knew, in that moment, that this contract wouldn't just be physical. There was something between us, something that, until then, neither of us wanted to admit. But that, in a dangerous and inevitable way, was just beginning. You shouldn't have been mine like that. Jake got up from the bed as if he was running away from himself. He walked to the bedroom window, his back to me, the muscles in his back tense, his fist clenched at his naked body's side. The lit city outside seemed like a reflection of what I felt inside. Too much noise, too much light, and a loneliness that made no sense. I was still in bed, with the sheets pulled up to my chest, trying to understand what that meant. My body was still burning. My lips still tasted like him. But my soul, it was in a strange place, confused. He was silent for what seemed like an eternity. "Ashley," he murmured, without turning around. It was never supposed to be like this. There was something in his voice that made me shiver. It wasn't just guilt. It was a kind of pain I didn't expect from a man like Jake. The kind of pain that comes from someone who cares, and that scared me more than the contract itself. "Jake, don't treat me like I'm made of glass. I've accepted that," I said, trying to sound firmer than I actually felt. He turned slowly, his dark eyes meeting mine. There was something different in them now, something that hadn't been there before our first kiss, something that came from a deep place. "Old. Do you really think I would have done that if I had known?" he asked, walking back to me. "Do you have any idea how long I've—" He stopped, swallowed the words. I sat up, the sheets slipping a little. He looked away for a second, as if he was struggling with himself. "How long what?" I whispered. Jake came over and sat on the edge of the bed. His hands came to my face, carefully. Like if he touched me the wrong way, I would disappear. "I first saw you 3 years ago. You had no idea who I was. I was at the university, wiping away a lady's tears in the pediatrics ward. I was there for another reason, a dirty reason. But you held me captive. That image stuck in my head. It never left. My eyes widened. I didn't even remember that day. It was just another volunteer shift. And why? Why did you never say anything? Because men like me don't get close to women like you. We dirty everything we touch. I tried to forget you, Ashley. I swear on everything that is sacred. But when you came into my office, begging for help, I saw a chance to have you, even if it was in the wrong way." I remained silent. My heart was beating wildly. Part of me wanted to scream, to hit him, to tell him he was a scoundrel. But another part, the most dangerous part, felt something I didn't want to name. Maybe I've always felt it. "Jake, I don't know what we're doing. I came here out of desperation, and now there's something between us that I don't know how to deal with." He came closer, pressing our faces together. His eyes were full of truth. "Do you think I know? I signed your soul on a piece of paper, Ashley. But what I want most is for you to stay because you want to, not because you have to." And before I could answer, he kissed me. But it wasn't like before. It was deeper, slower, a kiss that tasted like a confession. This time, I kissed him back with the same intensity. There was no contract at that moment. There was only the two of us. When we separated, he rested his forehead against mine. "Promise me one thing." "What?" "That if at any point you want to leave, you'll tell me. I won't keep you here, ever again." I nodded, feeling that something inside me had changed forever. But I didn't know it yet, that the contract was the simplest part of this story. Because the more I got to know Jake, the more I realized there were too many layers to this man, and a past. That could destroy everything. The more I felt for him, the more I feared what I didn't know yet. After that night, nothing was the same. Jake didn't touch me again in the following days. He looked at me, yes, with that burning gaze, but he held back, as if he was waiting for me, and that confused me more than if he had pinned me against the wall. He treated me with a strange delicacy for someone from his world. He made my coffee as if he knew exactly how I liked it. He let me sleep in late, gave me space, but he never really left me alone. There was always someone watching. An undercover security guard on the corner, a car following at a distance. I knew he did it for protection, but there was a weight to it all. A weight that grew every day. And that was when my restlessness began. Because the more I felt for him, the more I feared what I didn't know yet. One afternoon, after spending hours reading on the couch, I decided to explore the apartment. I already knew almost everything, except his office. It was the only room that was always locked. But that day, the door was ajar. Curiosity spoke louder than common sense. I walked in slowly, my heart racing. The office was dark, paneled in wood, smelling of leather and secrets. Papers scattered about, maps, black and white photographs, and in the corner of the bookshelf, a box. Ordinary looking, nothing special, until I opened it. Inside, there was a folder, and inside the folder, photos of me, several, some old, from when I didn't even know who Jake was. Me on campus, me leaving the library, me in the coffee shop with my friend, me smiling at a world that didn't know was being watched. My fingers trembled, my stomach turned. "What are you doing here?" His voice behind me was low, dangerous. I turned slowly, the folder still in my hands. What is this, Jake?" He stared at me, but there was no anger. There was shame, and something that felt like pain he no longer wanted to hide. "I've never been a good man, Ashley, and you know that. But I never touched you. I never sent anyone to follow you with bad intentions. I just needed to see you." "This is stalking," my voice cracked. "This is sick. I know, but it was the only way to keep you close somehow, even if you never knew. So, all this contract was just to fulfill an old obsession." He approached slowly, as if he were walking on glass. "Number? The contract was the only way I found to help you without you running away. I thought that if you knew how I felt, if you knew what I had done, you would run, and you have every right to, Jake." My voice was barely a whisper. He stopped in front of me. His dark gaze was drowned in guilt. "I fell in love with you long before I touched you, long before you knew who I was, but my love was always silent, hidden. Now it's here, wide open, and if you want to leave, I won't stop you." The silence between us was thick, hot. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to run, but the most sincere part just wanted him to hold me, and that's what he did, strongly, with truth. That night, I slept in the arms of the most dangerous man in the city, and I realized that the real danger was what he did to my heart. But what I didn't know is that his past was about to knock on our door, and that not every feeling is capable of surviving the weight of old sins. It was when the past knocked on the door that I discovered who the real enemy was. The next morning, I woke up with his arms still around me. The warmth of Jake's body enveloped me like a shield against the world. A world that, at that moment, seemed far away, suspended in the silence of our fragile bubble. But peace, when it comes to Jake, never lasts. It was around 9 when I heard a sharp knock on the penthouse door. 3 knocks. Short. Cold. Jake stood up as if he knew exactly who it was. He quickly pulled on his pants, his muscles tense, his gaze sharp. He gave me one last look before leaving the room, as if to say, "Don't leave here, for anything." But I did. Curiosity burned. Fear, even more so. I stopped at the top of the stairs, hidden in the shadows, only seeing part of the entrance. But what I saw was enough. The man at the door was tall, dark, with perfectly combed back hair. He had a sharp gaze like broken glass, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore a suit, like Jake, but his looked dirtier, even though it was impeccable. "Anton," Jake said, his voice low, full of tension. "What do you want? I heard you've been distracting yourself with feelings." He smiled, as if the word were a dirty joke. "That doesn't suit you, Jake. Get to the point." Anton stepped forward, crossing his arms. "We have a problem. One of our own is talking too much. About business, about you, and now, about her." My blood ran cold. "Ashley has nothing to do with this," Jake growled. I had never heard him sound like that before. Animal. Wild. You got involved. You weakened. That makes her a target. And if she becomes a problem, you know what will happen." Jake stepped forward, fast. He pushed Anton against the wall, with a force that made the painting fall to the floor. "If you touch her, if anyone even looks at her with a threat, I will dismantle every bone in your body, one by one." Anton didn't react. He smiled. "Are you in love then?" Jake didn't answer. He just released him with contempt. Anton straightened his jacket, as if nothing had happened. "I'm just here to warn you. The council knows, and they don't like weakness." And with that, he left, calmly, as if he hadn't just threatened my life. When Jake came up and found me in the hallway, there was no longer any way to hide the fact that I had heard everything. "Are they going to kill me?" I asked, my voice firmer than I expected. He stopped. He looked at me deeply. "Number, I won't let them, but they'll try." He nodded slowly. "That's why you're leaving tomorrow?" "What?" "I'm going to send you to a safe place. One of my men will accompany you. You're going to disappear until I solve this. And if you don't solve it, I will. And if they kill you..." He took a deep breath. He touched my face with a tenderness that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. "Then at least you'll be alive. I don't want to be alive if it means losing you, Jake. And I'd rather lose you than bury you, Ashley." That night, we made love as if it were the last time. And maybe it was, because at dawn, I left. With my heart in pieces and a painful certainty in my chest. I was in love with a man that the whole world wanted to destroy. Running away from him was like trying to run away from myself. The car sped down the road as if it were running away from its own destiny. I looked out the window, trying to hold back the tears that burned but wouldn't fall. Jake had sent me away. He had pushed me away. He had hidden me, as if I were too fragile for his world. But what he didn't understand was that my world was already him, and being away from him was slowly killing me. The security guard who accompanied me, a quiet man named Marco, took me to an isolated house, surrounded by trees and silence, a hiding place according to Jake. But to me, it felt like a prison. I spent the first few days there in a trance. No hunger, no sleep, with my phone locked, no access to anything, not even him. The only thing I had left was the memory of the last night, the way he held me, as if he were already saying goodbye, and maybe he really was. That night, as I sank into the couch with a blanket over my shoulders, and the longing weighing like a brick on my chest, Marco entered the room with a tense look in his eyes. "We need to get out of here," he said. "What?" "Now. They found this place. I don't know how, but we don't have time." I froze. In minutes, everything turned into chaos. Marco pushed me into the car, started the engine, and sped off without looking back. All the while, I could only think of one thing. Did Jake know? Was he okay? Halfway there, the car skidded. A shot broke the side window. Marco shouted for me to duck, and I threw myself on the floor, my heart pounding in my neck. "Shit, shit, shit," he muttered, trying to keep control. More shots, and then suddenly, everything stopped. Silence. The car braked suddenly. Marco ran out, gun in hand, and that's when I heard the voice. Deep, familiar. "Ashley!" I stumbled out of the car. My body was shaking. The air was thick with gunpowder and fear. But he was there. Jake. With blood dripping from the corner of his mouth, his shirt torn, his eyes burning. He ran to me and hugged me so tightly that I felt my bones growl, but I didn't want to let go. Ever again. "Are you okay?" he whispered, running his hands over my face, as if he needed to make sure I was real. "And you?" My voice cracked. "You're bleeding." "You're not mine. It doesn't matter. I have you now." We stayed like that for a moment that seemed like an eternity, until he pulled me by the hand. "We have to go. Now." "Where to?" "To where it all started." I stared at him, confused. "What is this place?" He took a deep breath, and then he said, "My home. The one you've never known. The one that holds all my secrets, including the biggest one." My feet wobbled. "Jake, what are you talking about?" He just squeezed my hand. "I need to show you who I really am, Ashley, before the world finishes trying to erase me, and before you find out from someone else." "Find out what?" He looked at me like someone who has been carrying a burden for years. And then, he said quietly, that all of this started because of my father. And yours. Some truths don't set you free. They break you. The rain started as soon as we turned onto the dirt road, as if the sky also carried the weight of what was about to be said. Jake drove in silence, his eyes fixed on the dark road, his fingers gripping the steering wheel tightly. The only sound inside the car was my breathing, short, accelerated, and the sound of the drops hitting the glass. "Jake, what does my father have to do with all of this?" He hesitated for a few seconds, as if fighting against his own past hurt more than facing the entire mafia. "They didn't tell you. Of course not. Why would they?" he muttered bitterly. "But your father wasn't just a simple man with a workshop. He was an accountant, and he worked for them." My eyes widened. My father. Was he part of the mafia? Jake shook his head. He wasn't part of it. He was a prisoner. He worked with them for years, laundering money, embezzling figures, until one day he decided to leave. Report everything. I felt my stomach churn, but he never talked about it. Because they knew where you lived. They threatened you. That's why he took away documents, records, numbers. That's why your lives became a financial hell. They cut everything off to punish you. Oh my God. And that's where my father came in, Jake continued, bitter resentment in his voice. One of the bosses. One of the ones who ordered yours to be erased. But he failed. What do you mean failed? Your father survived. He ran away. He changed his name, but not without consequences. My mother died that night. The house was in flames, and my father swore revenge on his father. He trained me. He prepared me to one day finish what he started. My breath stopped. So, you... I was supposed to get close to you, Ashley, he confessed, staring at the road. To win you over. To use you. And when the time was right, to destroy you. I felt like the world had stopped. Like everything inside me was cracking. Jake stopped the car. The rain was now falling hard, like a curtain between the past and the present. He turned to me. His eyes were watery, his jaw clenched. But then I met you. For real. I closed my eyes, feeling the tears flow uncontrollably. It was all a lie then? No, he said, moving closer. The lie was the plan, but what happened between us. It was real. It was all real. Jake, I'm not my father's son anymore, Ashley. Not when I'm with you. But now, they want blood, and they're going to come after us. Me, you, your father, if he's still alive. My father. Do you think he disappeared because he knew that if he showed up, it would be the end of everything? But there are rumors that he's reappeared, that he's trying to negotiate the old documents, which means the net is going to close in. I was silent for a few seconds, trying to process the weight of it all. Then I looked at him. And what do we do now? Jake looked at me as if he had been waiting his whole life for this question. Now we face it, together. I took a deep breath and nodded, because even with my heart broken, with my trust wounded, a part of me still loved him, and maybe it was that part that would keep us alive. Love saved me, while the world fell apart. The dirt road was left behind, and with it, everything I thought I knew. My father, Jake, my own story. Now, I was made of broken truths and conflicting feelings, but one thing remained. Even though I was afraid, I chose Jake. I chose that impossible love. I chose to continue. The house where he took me was different from anything I had imagined. It wasn't a large marble mansion with security guards at the door. It was old, made of dark wood, hidden among dense trees. The door creaked when he pushed, as if time inside that house had stopped. I grew up here, he said softly, turning on a dim lamp. Before everything. Before the mafia. Before I lost my mother. Before I became what I became. I walked slowly through the rooms. The walls were covered in old photos. A woman with kind eyes. His mother. A smiling boy with scraped knees. Jake. Small. Still innocent. I've never brought anyone here, he said, stopping behind me. I've never let anyone see this part of me. I turned around slowly, feeling the weight of the confession. Why now? He sighed. Because I want you to know the man behind the mask. Because even after everything, I still love you. My defenses began to crumble at that moment. And when he got closer, his fingers trembling as he touched my face, I didn't back away. Jake, I wronged you. I hid the truth from you, but I never lied about how I felt. And I never lied when I said I wanted you, I whispered. Our lips met with urgency, as if time owed us every lost second. He picked me up and carried me to the old room, where the bed creaked beneath our bodies, and the cold of the night was swallowed by the heat that took over us. But it wasn't like the first time. There was no hesitation. There was no surprise. Just surrender. He knew every curve of me now, every spot where I gasped, where my body surrendered. But that night, there was more than desire. There was need. There was love, etched into my skin like a scar. "Stay with me," he asked between kisses and touches. "Even if the world falls apart, even if everything ends. I'm already with you, Jake. Even when I tried to run away, I was already yours." Hours later, with our bodies tired and our hearts racing, we remained in silence, lying under the sheets, listening to the rain pounding on the roof. That's when he said, "Tomorrow, I'll go after your father." I sat up, startled. "What?" "He's alive. One of my men confirmed it. He's in hiding, trying to sell the documents that put the mafia bosses in jail. But that also makes him a target, and I need to get to him before they do. I'm going with you." "No," he answered firmly. "It's too dangerous." "I don't care." My voice was loud. "You got me involved in this. You made me feel like I could fight by your side. Now you won't let me out." He looked at me for long seconds. His eyes were contained storms. "You're the only thing I want to protect in this world, Ashley. And I'm the only one who doesn't want to be protected. I want to fight." He took a deep breath, defeated. "Okay, but if things get out of hand, you'll run. Promise?" "I promise," I lied. The next morning, we left before sunrise. The car drove in silence along the wet roads, heading for an address scribbled on an old piece of paper, found among the belongings of the former mafia accountant. On the way, I watched Jake out of the corner of my eye. The way he glanced in the rearview mirror. The way he kept his hand close to the gun attached to his belt. Each gesture was a dance between fear and courage. When we arrived, the place was a cabin in the middle of nowhere, covered in fog. Jake told me to wait in the car, but I followed him, of course, my heart in my throat. And it was there, in that moment, that everything changed. When I opened the door to the cabin, Jake froze. "Dad?" I whispered behind him, seeing the man in front of me. Yes, it was him. Aged, thinner, but definitely my father. But before I could run to him, a voice came from the shadows. What a beautiful reunion. Too bad it's going to end here. 2 armed men came out from behind the door. Jake pushed my body against the wall, protecting me with his own. Everything happened so fast. A gunshot, screams, shrapnel. When the dust settled, Jake was down, and my father was looking at me with wide eyes, the gun shaking in his hands. Ashley, what did I do? Some endings aren't happy, but they're true. The sound of the gunshot still echoed in my head as I fell to my knees beside Jake's body. Blood was running down the side of his abdomen, hot, thick, too real for me to deny what was happening. "Jake," I screamed, squeezing his hand tightly. "Stay with me. Please, stay with me." His eyes opened slowly. A weak, crooked smile formed on his lips. I thought I was going to die without hearing you scream my name again. "Shut up," I whispered, crying. "I didn't let you die that first time, and I won't let you die now. You won't be able to save me again, little one." I shook my head, but inside, a part of me was starting to give in. The pain was unbearable, as if an invisible hand was tearing every cell in my body. My father fell to his knees beside him, desperate. I didn't know he was protecting you. I thought that he was like the others. I finished cold, but he wasn't. "Ashley," Jake murmured, "listen to me. The folder, the documents, are behind the fireplace. Take them to the police. End this. End them. No, don't say this like it's goodbye. You're going to get through this. I'm going to get you out of here. He smiled, his eyes slowly closing. And then what? Are you going to take care of me? Make me pancakes in the morning? Call me an idiot when I forget to put the toilet seat down? I'll call you whatever you want, I cried. But you have to stay. Please stay. The cabin was silent. The two armed men lay on the floor, dead, one by Jake's hand, the other by my father's. The rain outside had stopped, as if the world was holding its breath for what was about to happen. Jake coughed up blood, but his hand was still tightly gripped mine. You saved me, he said, his voice cracking, from a fate I didn't even know I hated. I love you, I whispered for the first time with all the weight and truth in the world. I love you, Jake, and if you leave me now, I'll never forgive you. 1 second, 2, 3, and then he passed out. The next few hours were a blur. I called Daniel, Jake's bodyguard. I took him to a secret hospital where mafia bosses used to hide their own wounded, the same place he promised me he would never set foot in again. And I broke that promise for him. Jake was in surgery for hours. Meanwhile, my father and I searched the cabin until we found the folder. Codes, bank statements, names. Everyone responsible for the corruption and bloodshed were there. And as much as he hesitated, my father helped me put it all together. That same night, we gave the folder to an independent reporter. She had lost her brother to the mafia years ago. And now, she held the key to bringing it all down. Jake spent 7 days in a coma. 7 days I slept next to the bed, my head resting on the edge, listening to the beeps of the heart monitor as if they were the beats of my own heart. On the 8th day, he opened his eyes. I had a dream, he murmured, his voice weak. We had a wooden house, a dog. You wouldn't let him get on the bed, but I kept him hidden. That would never happen, I said, laughing and crying. I would always let him get on the bed. I knew you were the soft type. I leaned closer and kissed his forehead. You came back. For you. 2 months later, the mafia began to crumble. Powerful names were arrested. Others mysteriously disappeared. The rotten empire that sustained fear began to crumble, at the hands of a man who was trained to kill, but who chose to love. Jake left everything. The organization, the dirty fortune, the name that wasn't his. And for the first time, he chose to start over. It's going to be hard, he said, as we packed our things into a small, sunny apartment. I don't know how to live a normal life. We'll learn, I said, handing him a mug with the phrase, "Man of the House," written in permanent marker. Starting by having breakfast without guns on the table. He laughed, and it was the cleanest laugh I'd ever heard in my life. And that was how it all ended. Not with glamour, not with revenge, but with truth. The truth that love doesn't save the world, but it saves people. And that is enough. Today, when I wake up next to him, with his arms around my waist and my heart pounding, I know. Some endings aren't happy, but they're ours, and that's enough.